Jason, give me your first impressions of Lee Ralph.
My first impressions of Lee Ralph. He had Nikes on, and the Nikes were, the top of the toe was worn out, so you could see his fucking toe, and the bottom was worn out where you could see the bottom of his foot. And I was just like, who the fuck is this dude?
Dude.
Heard he slept in a car the night before, and these are these crazy New Zealanders that are as good as Americans. And I think that was the same day that my friend Sack was like, check out that chick down there. I was like, that's my mum, you fucking idiot. Sack was trying to fuck my mum.
Just dropped into a backside air about 4 foot, tweaked, then went up the other side. I was on the platform, fucking nearly kicked my head off, kicked out judo, frigid, rocket, like that. And I just like, dude, this is bullshit. Just laughing, just with joy. He was never big-headed, man. Always had the coolest attitude and just brought the best out of you and your skating. And yeah, he was pure, rad. Like it just blew me out. I just went, fuck.
Lee Ralph did fucking real skateboard tricks. So did Gregor. They both were 1,000 times better than all of us. And their attitude was something different.
It started long ago, in a land far away. Island people had something to say. Take your brain, put it here. I'll eat that and drink your beer. Part-time animal, full-time cannibal. I'm not crazy, he's insane. Lee Ralph will eat your brain in a bucket or a cup. Eat it up. Skull cap salad. Eat it up.
What do you think of people who don't skate? That they're missing out?
I don't get along with them, but
Why not?
because I'm a skater, it might sound really closed-minded, but that's just the way it is. For me, anyway. I just like to talk to skaters.
If all you think about is skateboarding, and if the only people you associate is skateboarders, I mean, I'd say that was a pretty heavy cult. I'd say that was your whole life.
Skaters don't need women, that's for sure. And I'm not saying they don't have sex, they do, but you know, the really hardcore skaters, they're not interested. If it happens, sure, but they're not going to waste their time like most people, you know, just chasing girls, looking for sex. It's not enough, you know, skating's more. That's why they do it.
I used to have girlfriends and that when I was young. I had girlfriends and that, and I'd go to the movies with them. I'd get phone calls from Gregor saying, where the fuck were you? You know, because I didn't go down the ramp. You know, what a fucking pussy. You'd rather go to the movies with your girlfriend than come and ride the ramp. What a fuckwit. And honestly, and it cut me deep, bro. It cut me really deep. You know, I was like, because I let these men down, you know. The last hardcore men that were left were us. We were a unit, a warrior unit about skateboarding and keeping the shit going. Like if you're a blacksmith, who makes the most metal? Well, the guy who doesn't leave the fucking place where you're doing the blacksmithing. Some guys are off, I gotta go see my missus, I gotta make her dinner. Oh, I'll catch you later, bro. While he's there doing that, well, he made 10 more swords.
It's striving to do the raddest things you can think of. It's thinking of things at night.
You actually lie in bed and think of maneuvers and movements.
That's all I think about ever, 24 hours a day. Only two things I think about is skateboarding and playing the guitar.
Just his guitar and his skateboards. For Lee Ralph, anyway, this celibate life pays off.
Okay, in first place, the MeWe from New Zealand, Lee Ralph.
It's official. Lee and his skateboard are the hottest items on the ramp.
Check for $2,000.
In true skater style, he takes the money, doesn't kiss the girl.
Okay, and we're rolling again. Over to you, Alex.
Okay. You guys were Lee's first sponsor and taught him that you could still be a hardcore skater whilst, being rewarded for your skating. What made you choose him over, say, the other Australian skaters at the time?
When Lee did a backside air, if it was 3 foot, it looked like it was on its way to being an 8 foot air. And they were. His 3 foot airs became 8 feet. A lot of Australian skaters could do a 3 foot air, and it just looked like it was on the rev limiter. That was it. It was not going higher.
Certain dudes who do amazing stuff, like particular tricks, but then certain aspects of their skating suck. Whereas with Lee, you could pick any single manoeuvre and he made every trick look good.
We had Al Losi out for some tours. There was, me and Stephen and Hugh and Tony Hallam skating as a pretty terrible support act to him. We just said, we've got to get Lee on the ramp, Man, he pushed Al and Losi so hard. He made Al Losi skate better than I reckon he'd skated in years, and he just had that ability to turn everyone on, to make you want to skate and to make you just risk more and just stick tricks that you thought you couldn't make, and he was incredibly good and he was just going to get better. In a weird way, I think his imagination overrated the pros around the world. He thought every pro could do a Smith grind as good as Mike Smith, and they just couldn't. They all had their bits, but none of them could do it all. And I think Lee just had that expectation of himself that he would do every single trick as good as any other pro,
Whose Madonna do you remember? You remember Lee Ralph's, right? And I think that's why he made such a huge impact in America, because at that stage, he was like fucking ridiculous. And, I think that's why we're here talking about him today.
He'd outgrown Australia, New Zealand, that part of the world. Now you can look around and go, look, there's great skateboarders in France, there's an insane scene in Melbourne, there's all these different places, that you look around, but it wasn't like that then. If you hadn't made it in, not even Northern California, it was really if you hadn't made it in Southern California, you weren't known, and we would have just held him back. We could see what was going on. We were a distributor, not a manufacturer at that time, and we knew that he'd be better served by a manufacturer based in Southern California.
We had no interest at all in trying to restrain him. We wanted him out there. We didn't care who he skated for, as long as it was an A-grade brand with international recognition and with the right sort of people around him. And he made it happen. Lee did that, no one else did that.
Lee was always a prick to me, honestly. All those guys were so fucking mean. Maybe it helped. Maybe I have a radio show now because I'm good at being really mean to people. I don't know, but I don't regret it, but that's the facts. Like, there was never like arm in arm Lee Ralph and Jason Ellis. It was more like, do you know what a piece of shit you are? And I'm like, yeah, maybe. But it helped. I remember one time he sweat on my board. It dripped off on my board, and then when it dried, it was a little dirt circle. And I was like, oh my God, he's so hideous. But, being hideous and being dirt, like having a beard and doing, grinds and going with your face was cool to me. So I didn't see him to be that Reggie. He's like a stinky skateboard samurai. Because there's code and there's honor in this shit. And it's all the way to the death. All the people that I've met in my life, all the challenges that I've faced in my life are not as intimidating because I've seen, you know what I mean, real passion, real psychotic love for the game. And I still take that with me everywhere I go. I will to the day I die. He's pretty awesome.
Lindsay Knight. I mean, come on, let's have it straight, man to man. What sort of fucking name's that? Lindsay.